This is the Action Movie Guys podcast, bringing you action movie reviews from across the decades, plus box office numbers and insight like never before. And now, your hosts of the Action Movie Guys podcast, Alex and Nate.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 274 of the Action Movie Guys podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and this is my co-host,
Alex Figueroa.
And on this episode, we are continuing with our non-franchise month, covering some comic book films that had one movie. No sequels, no prequels, no nothing. They're just one time, and that was it. And we are going to be covering 2009's Watchmen, of course, directed by Zack Snyder, based on the groundbreaking, I think we could say, graphic novel of the same name. Of course, a movie that was considered, or a book, I should say, that was considered unfilmable, but they tried it, and we're going to let you know if they pulled it off or not. So, Alex, I know didn't you just see this for the first time, like, recently?
I saw this for the first time when it came out on 4K. I owned the Steelbook, but I never opened it, the director's cut. Okay. And then when they announced the 4K, I was like, okay, I'm going to pick it up. Because I like Snyder a lot, his directing. So I picked that up. Then I watched it for the first time, the ultimate cut. And then that was the last time I watched it. And then I put on today the director's version. But
okay, so we will be covering the director's cut. I did watch the ultimate cut for this. I know he said fast forward through the cartoons. I'm not going to talk about the cartoon segments, but I just let them play because I was like, you know what? I've never watched the ultimate cut. I've only watched the director's and the regular. So we'll be covering more of the director's cut. Before we do that, let's give you some Rotten Tomatoes numbers. Now, this one, it is positive, which I remember at the time, this was kind of a divisive movie. You had a lot of people who didn't like it, and you had a lot of people who loved it. There was very few like in between that were like, it was okay. It's a very dense movie, so I could see that. Now, this has a 65% critic score, so it is over the 60%. It is considered fresh, and it has a 71% audience score. So for Zack Snyder, pretty good, because, well, I mean, his movies do pretty good with fans. For critics, they're always, this is better than some of his other movies that did with critics. So anything surprising with those numbers to you?
It's not, and you know, it's funny, when it comes to Watchmen, I never read a comic. I don't know where they fit in the world of DC or whatever, because I know now they have like the Watchmen with
they're doing crossovers.
They all move, and all that stuff. So I don't know where that goes in the world of DC. Where is Superman and Batman during this time? Like, I don't know all about all that. So, and I don't know how big the fan base of this is. You know, like, it's very weird for me that Warner Brothers greenlight a comic book property like this.
Yeah.
So you understand what I mean? Like, this is like Guardians of the Galaxy type shit. Like, you're releasing out there. Like, did this have a big following? Like, I mean, looking from the box office numbers, it didn't look like they had that much of a follow. But yeah,
I would say it has a big following. The book does. I think a lot of them were not like keen to see the movie of it, to be honest with you. Yeah. Because like I said, the early stuff was like, you can't film this. It's too, the structure of it is too hard to do, and the ending is too. Which, by the way, they changed it from the book. I don't read comics. I watched the motion comic of the whole graphic novel before I saw this movie. Okay. So I've read this book, equivalent to an audiobook, but basically it's like just pictures and then they read it to you basically. So, and then they move like a little bit. So I did watch the motion comic. The ending is changed, which we'll get into. I think, this is separate from all those other superheroes. This takes place in like an alternate history because it's in the 80s and Richard Nixon is still the president. So it's like
85.
Yeah. It's totally, there is no Batman in this world. There is no Superman. There is none of them. These are the superheroes that exist there, and that's it. So just to answer that, what are you have the box office numbers for it?
Yeah, I'll pull it up for you right now. The box office was 130 million for budget, domestic 55. In terms of opening night, that's not good.
Oh, opening night? Okay.
Domestic was 107 million. Worldwide, 77, which we already knew that was going to happen. For a worldwide total of 185 million. I mean, they didn't even make their money. I mean, you could say it's a semi-successful, but marketing and everything is kind of a flop.
Yeah, it did not. I don't think it made money theatrically. It might have made money on discs, because anytime they re-release a movie a lot, that means people buy it on disc. Yeah. So I'm sure it did well at home, but maybe in the long run, WB made because they did make a show about it on HBO, so they must have made some profits. Yeah, they probably did, but this is not a hit as far as theatrical. I don't care about any of this. I'm very excited to talk about this movie, and I'm going to let you go first, though. I'm hosting. You get to talk about the lead. Now, this is an ensemble movie. In my opinion, Rorschach is the lead character. He's the one that has the voiceover. He's the one that's kind of that you're with most of the time. So we'll score him, but if you want to talk about the team, go ahead.
I gave it a 3.
Ooh.
So it's a weird story, right? Like, first of all, Zack Snyder's direction of this movie is top notch. I mean, I don't know where you can go with this. He gave it to you in a noir comic book style.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I thought it was great. Now, in terms of these characters, I like Rorschach was okay. My dude was the bird-looking Batman dude. I liked him a lot. The nerd.
Night
dude.
Owl. The Night Owl.
By Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
That's my dude. I like that dude. I was like, you know what?
Okay.
Reminds me of Batman, but he was pretty cool. Then you had the chick. Then you got Mr. Manhattan, the blue glowing guy. That's cool. Then you have Jeffrey D. Morgan as the comic guy, the comedian. So you have a lot of big known actors in this, right? And then you had the other Jupiter, the older lady from Sucker Punch.
Sally Jupiter.
Yeah. She was good. She was in it. But Rorschach, I like his voice for narration. He was cool. He fights. Again, Zack Snyder does a great job with the fighting. It is fun. But I don't know. It's a story-driven movie. So like it did not feel like a comic book as much because once they throw the comic book guys up, great. But other than that, it's like oh man, it's trying to figure out. It's like a murder mystery type of movie with comic books and this Watchmen type thing because the world is gonna explode and the Russians might nuke it and Dr. Manhattan got to do something over there. Then they threw the comedian out of a window, so you don't know who the hell did it. Then they reveal it at the end, which we'll talk about in the storyline. But in terms of characters, I liked it, but they didn't give us much. It was a lot of flashbacks here and there, just try to connect the puzzle pieces and everything. And to me, it just threw me off a lot. So I gave it a 3. I thought it was good. Well, no, you know what? I strike that. I give it a 4 because I thought all the characters were great together as a unit. I just wish we had more information on a lot of stuff. So I give it a 4. I give it a 4.
That's fair. That's fair. No complaints. Again, we don't argue here. 4, I gave it a 5. You know what's funny? The beginning of The Batman, it literally reminded me of, as soon as I went to see it, I was like, this is Watchmen, where he's reading the journal, October 31st, Halloween. They don't know I'm going to get... It's literally the beginning of this movie. March, December, 1985. A comedian was... It's the same crap. So I think Matt Reeves was doing homage to the graphic novel, maybe not to this movie per se, but that's straight out of that's Watchmen. I love Rorschach. Rorschach, to me, is... what would happen if Batman was poor and a sociopath? Like, no regard for human life. Because he's a great detective. He's the one that's solving he's the one who solves the whole thing before the comedian was starting to. But then once he gets killed, Rorschach's the one that is starting to put the pieces together. He's the one that's solving. So he has that detective element. He could fight. His fight scenes are great. He's so little, but he's like a little gangster. He has the best lines. I love everything he says when he's in the jail. Incredible. Jackie Earle Haley, he got the best lines in this movie. When the little short guy is talking, he's like, tall order. And he's like, big world. And then the fat guy's like, I'm gonna kill you. He's like, fat chance. He just get mad every time. Or when he's like, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. Oh, he's so gangster. I absolutely love Rorschach. I love his fight scenes. I love his look. He just like wears a trench coat and a hat and that cool mask that's constantly changing. But again, to me, even though Night Owl would be more like Batman in the sense of he got the gadgets, he got the money, his dad left him money, he kind of looks like him a little bit. Rorschach as a character is more similar to Batman to me, but like the exact opposite. Like the Thomas Wayne version almost. He kills people. Yeah. He does not care. And so I love him. As far as the rest of the team, yeah, I like Night Owl. Patrick Wilson's cool. His whole thing with Silk Spectre 2, the girl, it's weird. Like their whole sexual thing is weird. Like he has to do action. He has to get back into like fighting in order to like hook up with her pretty much. But it's kind of weird, but it was cute. I kind of liked it. You know, their dynamic. Dr. Manhattan is he has no personality. He's just like a void. Yeah, like and then the comedian, Jeffrey D. Morgan's such a prick in this movie. I mean, you remember we did The Losers last week? And I said he seems like he's not acting at all. This is why. Look how much better he is as far as acting in this movie. He has personality. He's like the douchebag, but you kind of like him a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you have Ozymandias, who's the other guy who we're going to talk about in a second. But anyway, for me, I love them all. 5 for me, 4 for you. Main villain, who is, of course, Ozymandias, turns out to be the main villain.
I don't know. I give him a 3. I mean, it was his own. Like, was it? I mean, he made world peace by framing his friend as super powerful, and then kills Rorschach because Rorschach was going to tell the world what happened. They couldn't let that happen. So, like, for me, I was just like, I mean, it is what it is. Like,
yeah.
I wasn't too. You know what it is like that character was. They didn't give him. Okay, he's the rich guy. He's the one that's in the spotlight. He's like the Oliver Queen, right? Like he's like the CEO of whatever, but he's Green Arrow. Everyone knows he's Green Arrow, right? So it was kind of like the same thing, but he masterminded this thing and he knew he couldn't beat Dr. Manhattan. I mean, this dude knew he was going to get his ass whooped from Dr. Manhattan. He ran and he zapped him again. And Dr. Manhattan's like, bro, you can't hurt me. So like, it was, I mean, at the end of everything, did he have motivation? Yeah. I mean, did he fight? No.
He did.
Like, he had the fight scene, the guy with the gun when he shot and he hit him with the.
He fought Night Owl and Rorschach at the end, both 2 versus 1.
That's right. That's right. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't even phase him because he's like, I guess he's like super.
That's why.
Yeah, he just gave him the whooping.
Yeah.
So I mean, with that, I'll give him another 4. I'll give him a 4 as a villain. That's a villain shit. I mean, regardless if he's a hero, he's a villain. There's no way you can tell me he's a hero. He's like an anti-hero. I guess that's what you could say.
Yeah,
he's an anti-hero.
Yeah. So the point of the book, it's sort of supposed to be like a deconstruction of the superhero, right? And I gave him a 5. I'll explain why. I think Matthew Good, that's the actor who plays him. He's fine. He's very smug, good looking, possibly gay. That's what that's what Rorschach says. And that's what it's alluded to with all like the purple triangles and all that kind of stuff. And that's all from the book. I will say the book did a little bit better job. I agree with you on that regard. They did a little bit better job with backstory. So basically what he is like the smartest man on earth, the richest man, the fat, like he is the peak of human physical. That's why he actually catches the bullet when she shoots the gun. He's able to catch the bullet in his hand. He could fight them both by himself, no problem. Like, so I don't think they did a good job of conveying that in the movie as well. But that being said, anybody who kills like 20 million people and blows them up and then says it is for world peace, which it is. That's the whole point of the movie. Like, I guess his point, the one line, he says, I'm going to kill millions to save billions. But it's like, but bro, you can't do that. You can't just kill millions because you're supposed to be a hero. So is he a hero? Is he a villain? He murdered innocent women and children and men and people who didn't do nothing. So I just think it's such a dynamic character to me. Then again, I have read the book, so I know a little bit more, but I think he's a great villain just because that is such a diabolical thing to do. And that whole last scene where he's talking about why he did it and all that, I think it's fantastic. So it worked for me, clearly more than for you. You gave it 4. I gave it a 5. Action.
All right. I don't know if there's my action here because besides the jail cell and I guess he fights them at the end, there's nothing. There's nothing because it's more of a story-driven movie.
Right.
It's a way comic book murder mystery than an actual comic book fighting movie. With that said, I mean, Zack Snyder does a great job with these fighting scenes. I mean, that's one of his strengths. And the way I gave it a 3. I gave the action a 3. I thought it was good. Again, it's more story driven for me.
Yeah.
Like I can't go, okay, which is the best scene in terms of fighting, which I will say the jail cell is mad awesome.
Yeah.
Of them breaking out Rorschach. I think that's the best scene. But that's not much. So
all right.
I give it a 3.
So yeah, as far as action goes, you get the fight scene in the alleyway with Night Owl and the girl where they're fighting all those guys with the freaking knots. Yeah. That scene is brutal. Like freaking when she breaks that guy's leg by kicking it in the shin. Nasty. Love it. Cool fight. The jail fight, probably the best. And this was after 300. So it reminded me of that 300 scene where they had the 2 guys going. You know, like this was kind of his aesthetic at the time. You're right. I think that's the most solid fight. You did have the Rorschach escape scene with the cops. Cool. Yeah. You know, when they go to the thing and he has like the flamethrower and then he fights them outside. Like that's a cool scene, but they are short. These are not extended. Even the fight with Ozymandias at the end, like they fight and it's cool. It looks great. You're right. It looks super great, but it's short. It's like maybe 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So you're right. They're not set pieces. You do have like the Vietnam scene. There's fire. There's a lot. This movie's really gory though. It's really bloody. Like Dr. Manhattan be bursting people and their guts go everywhere. You know, like it's bloody, which I do like. But I agree with you. Actually, in the action, to me, that's the weakest part. I gave it a 3. It's really well shot, but there's not a lot of it, and it's a long movie. So we do got to factor in the quantity as well. So 3 for you, 3 for me. Same score. Okay, storyline.
I give it a 5. I think the storyline, in terms of a noir movie, you got to pay attention. You have to pay attention to this movie. It's one of those you got to sit down. You got to listen to every word they're speaking. Because if you miss something, you are screwed McDuck. I'm telling you right now. You are
Screwed
so screwed.
McDuck.
He's screwed McDuck. The storyline is great. I mean, their own partner kills their own friend to set up and puts everything in motion, right? So that's actually pretty cool, right? Then they reveal it at the end, atomic bomb. He set it off 35 minutes ago, so I thought that was pretty cool. You can't do nothing about that. Dr. Manhattan, he's cool. They showed a little bit of him. He's like the Hulk, right? With the Hulk getting stuck in the gamma ray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a facility. He got his powers from a facility.
And then you see his penis when he
Constantly.
comes back.
He's swanging.
I was just like, geez, Louise.
Swanging.
Yeah, so like I thought, to be honest with you, great story. And I like the Rorschach's voice when he's narrating everything. So that's actually pretty fun. It's a very heavy rated R movie. I mean, there's sex all over the place in the movie. I mean, there's titties, there's everything. Like if you into that shit, this movie is there for you. But
Slow motion boning.
yeah, mass slow motion. Yeah, geez Louise. Then you have the blood, like you said, there's a lot of gory guts, blood, breaking limbs to limb. So it's actually everything in one, and rape, because I mean, Mr. Comedian rapes, I'm about to rape one girl. But yeah, so honestly, I think this is it's a really overall, it's a graphic freaking novel, man, come to life. It's literally a graphic novel. So I give it a 5 for that.
5 for me too. I love it. I think it's great. I don't know why I get it, maybe I get it for like absolute diehards. But first of all, the ending changed. So in the original graphic novel, the ultimate goal is the same, to like kill all these people in all these places. Yeah. But they use these like giant squids from like another dimension. I'm not even lying. I like this ending better, using Dr. Manhattan, making it look like Dr. Manhattan did it. And then, they could use it and then he's gonna leave anyway. The whole thing with him being naked is so if you notice when he first became him, he was wearing little like underwear, and then as the movie went on, he stopped wearing them. And that's just because it's supposed to show his lack of humanity. Like he is going farther and farther from people.
I see.
Yeah, so he's like, well, I gotta wear clothes. I hate you all. I don't even care. So there's that. Yeah, you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. This movie's dense. There's a lot of talking. As far as the director's cut, it does add a subplot with the old owl. So he has this friend, the new Night Owl, Patrick Wilson. He's got Hollis Mason is the original Night Owl. And he goes to meet him in the regular version. He goes to meet him one time. They talk, and that's it. In this version, there's another subplot where he gets murdered by the Knot Tops, which is the gang that has the thing on their head. And then Patrick Wilson, or I should say Night Owl and Rorschach, find out. They go to this club when they're doing their investigation. They beat the dudes, and Night Owl's like about to beat the guy to death. And it's the only time where Rorschach doesn't let him kill him. He stops him. He's like, not in public. Damn. He's like, you can kill people, but don't let all these people see you kill them. So yeah, you're right. It is heavy. It is R-rated. The scene with the child murderer guy that like killed a little girl and he fed her to the dogs, that is like brutal. This movie is brutal for a comic book movie, and that's why I love it. Give me all of it. Now, I'm not saying I love child murder, but what I'm saying is I respect that they went there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great murder mystery movie that has superhero characters in it. And you're right. The whole scene with the almost rape scene, it's so brutal when he's like punching her and the impact, the way he filmed it, he kicks her. And then the freaking, what's that guy's name? Hooded Justice with the noose. Yeah. You bastard. He just beats the crap out of him. Oh, it's like hard to watch, but it's really good. So I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I gave it a 5. And again, I like this ending better than the comic book ending personally. What's your overall?
It's a 4. I think it's a great movie. Again, Zack Snyder, he's a visionary in terms of bringing comic books to life. I mean, you can see it with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, even Zack Snyder's Justice League. You can see his love for comic books. And even in this one, like, he loves DC Comics. I mean, if he ever does a Marvel, great. But he looks like he loves DC property. Like, he knows those characters. He knows his material. Yeah. Now, some people don't get it. Some people don't like it. Can't help you on that, but I like it. Overall, I give it a 4. I think it's an amazing story. I love the costumes, very old costumes, and I love the noir take. So everything, for me, worked very well. I mean, again, you got to pay attention because it's a very talking movie. But other than that, it's a 4. I give it a 4.
Yeah, you're right. I gave it a 5, though. I love this movie. I not that long ago, I did a list of my top 25 movies on Instagram. Well, it was a while ago now, but this is in my top 25 favorite. It is one of the early IMAX experiences I had. I didn't go to my first IMAX movie till 2008, and this came out in 2009. I literally remember getting to the theater. This was pre-reserve seating. Getting to the theater early, getting in line, sitting outside the theater, and I just hear loud noises. And then I go in there and I watch this movie of all movies in IMAX. And from that moment, I was hooked. I was like, this movie I love it. It's dark. It has killing, which I love. It has cool characters. You're right. There's shots that are literally from the panel. I know you're into that stuff really big. Like Zack Snyder took literal shots that are in the comic book and they are on the screen. The scene where he throws them out the window, all that whole thing, like exactly. The dialogue is straight out of the comic book. Not all, but a lot of it is literally line for line. So I think as far as an adaptation goes, it's not 100% accurate, but it's really, really accurate. More than a lot of these other comic book movies, which just either make stuff up or pull from 9 different stories. You know what I mean? So to me, it's a 5. I love this movie. It's probably my favorite Zack Snyder movie. Maybe I saw it at the right time. I don't know. But I've always loved it, and I just think it's fantastic. So a 4 for you, a 5 for me. What's your total points?
20.
A 20 is pretty good. I gave it a 23. So I'm 3 points higher than you. 23 for me, 20 for you. So that is Watchmen. I've never watched the series, by the way, because that series is supposedly like a sequel. I don't care. This is enough. I just want this and leave it alone. If it would have been a prequel, I think that would have been cool to show the old Watchmen from the beginning. By the way, the best opening. I love the opening credits in this movie with the Bob Dylan song, and and you get the whole history of the Watchmen. Also, a great soundtrack. Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, you have a lot of old music.
Yeah, Bob Dylan. You got that 99 Red Balloon song. Really good. And the worst use of that Hallelujah song ever. Why did they pick that song for when they were boning on that ship? I'll never understand. I hate it.
Because he maybe finally got it.
You made me see a secret chord and something about the Lord, and they're banging. I'm like, this is mad awkward. It's the kind of scene you hope someone doesn't walk in when you're watching it. You're like, please, get this over with. Anyway, moving on to next week, we have a couple of exciting things. Number 1, starting a new franchise. We'll be doing the X-Men films, starting with the original film called X-Men from 2000. We'll be starting with that, and then continuing and actually wrapping up our comic book movies with no sequel one-offs. We're going to be doing a little Wanted. So Angelina Jolie. I can't believe we got this many episodes before doing Wanted. I feel like it would have been an early one, but it's not. We also have a special guest for the first time ever. Well, second time, because one of our Patreons, Jay, was on. But we're going to be having some guests coming up on the show. So over on Instagram, you can follow him at Joe Joker's Movies. His name is Scott. He's going to be joining us to do both movies. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll have a third person. You know, sometimes me and Alex agree. Sometimes we disagree. And if we disagree, he could be a tiebreaker. And if we agree, he might be the weirdo that doesn't agree with us. So looking forward to having him on the show.
If you guys want to follow us in our social media accounts, please follow Nate over on Instagram at Netflix Reviews. Check out the podcast with him and friends called Netflix Movie Reviews. Anything Action Movie Guys, head over to Instagram at Action Movie Guys Podcast, or head over to our official website at www.geeksandflix.com for all things Action Movie Guys, movie reviews, all in one package. Other than that, he is your host,
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
I'm his co-host, Alex Figueroa. Be awesome to each other and geek out.